Hi, this is Tammy and I do Math for Coffee. I'm going to show you how to add integers today, and we're starting with some really basic stuff, not because I don't think you can't add 2 plus 4, but because I want to show you how I'm going to use some tools here, like the number line. If you do not have number lines printed or handed out to you, you should probably just draw them on your paper because they're a great tool. So we're going to start with 2 plus 4. Let me zoom into the part of the number line I'm going to need. I need to put a dot. My initial point is 2, so I'm going to put a point right there. The next stuff is telling me how to move. Plus 4 means I'm going to go forward 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And where you land is your answer, which is 6. And I knew you already knew that. The other tool I'm going to be using are counters. And again, you may have used these in other classes. They're usually little discs that are yellow on one side and red on the other. I like to use, for my video, I'm using green and red, but on paper, you would just make little circles with pluses and minuses on them. I have 2, so that means I need 2 positives, and then I'm going to add 4 positives, so I add 4 more. And you count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The answer is positive 6. I know it's positive because I have 6 green ones here. Pause the video, add these up. I'll be right back. All right, 3 plus 5 is 8. 22 plus 77 is 99. And 14 plus 53 is 67. If you are using a note taker that you were given, you probably have more to do here. So finish those up. And then we're going to fill in the next part, which is where you figure out what to do here. If you're taking a positive integer and you're adding it to another positive integer, your answer is also going to be a positive integer because you're starting with 2 positive numbers. All right, what happens when you add a negative number to another negative number? And this is where people start to get confused. I want you to just watch and come up with a visual that you can run in your head whenever you're doing this. And I like the number line for it. So I move into the part of the number line I'm going to be using because I know I'm starting with a -2. And I'm adding a -4, which means I'm going to be adding a backwards movement. I need to go backwards 4 spaces. And where I land is my answer, and that is -6. If you are copying this down, that's a really good idea, and pause the video. Let's do it again, but now I'm going to do it with my little counters. And so if you're taking notes on this one, you're going to draw 2 circles and put little minuses on them because that's -2. And then we're going to add 4 more negatives. And then you count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our answer is still -6. I have 6 counters. They're all red, and they all have little minus signs in them. All right, pause the video and do these 3, and I'll be right back with the answer. Okay, -2 plus -7 is a -9. I'm starting with a -2, and I'm just getting 7 more negatives, so I'm a bigger negative number now. -35 plus -4 is -39, and -12 plus -24 is a -36. A negative integer plus a negative integer is a negative integer. Your answer is going to be negative. -15 plus 6 more negatives are going to give me 21 negatives. All right, if you are taking notes, please know you're going to have to pause. I'm not going to go that slow on YouTube. All right, what happens when we take a positive number and we add it to a negative number? On the number line, we are starting with a +3, and we are adding a -4, which means we're going to back up 4 spots. And where we land is our answer. And here, the answer is -1. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to switch the signs of these 2 numbers so you can see the difference. Let's do a -3 plus 4. So we're starting with the -3 this time. Last time it was positive, now the 3 is negative, and we are going to add 4, which means we're going forward 4 And we end up with a positive 1 as an answer. I'm going to show you that with the counters. You start with a +3, so I need 3 green ones. And I need to add 4 red counters. Now what's going to happen is when you have a positive with a negative, they cancel each other out. So these are called zero pairs. So when I'm playing this game with the counters, whenever you can match up a green with a red, it becomes a 0. And what you're left with is your answer, and I have 1 red one left over, so my answer is -1. Do the same thing, but with the signs reversed. We're going to start with 3 red counters, and then we're going to add 4 green ones. And we have some canceling going on here, and what you're left with is your answer, which is a +1. All right, as you do these, pause the video, but I want you to do these 3, but I want you to try to think of a shortcut. Okay, the first one, 2 plus -8 is -6. -35 plus 4 is -31. -12 plus 24 is a +12. Now, if you look at these, we didn't actually add them. Like, we got a 6 for the first one, and 2 plus 8 would be 10, but we ended up with 6. So what did we really do? We subtracted. 8 minus 2 is 6. And the sign on this on the 6 is negative because the 8 is negative. So in this situation, when they have a positive and a negative integers, you actually subtract and then give your answer the sign of the bigger number. And I know it's not really, -8 isn't bigger than 2. I know that. But what I'm talking about is your eyeball is going to look at that 8 and think of it as a larger number because it's actually farther away from 0 than the 2. 35 minus 4 is 31, but the 31 needs to be negative because the 35 is negative. -12 plus 24 is 12 because 24 minus 12 is 12. The answer is positive because the 24 is positive. So for writing this down, a positive integer plus a negative integer is actually the difference of the numbers, and it gets the sign of the bigger number, bigger in quotation marks. And that's all I got for adding, because adding isn't really all that complicated. However, subtracting can be a little bit tricky. That's its own video. I'll put a link to it here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.